Hello, and welcome to another episode of Reading Reddit with Amber. Today I have another batch of outrageous stories for you from r/Am I the Jerk. Our first story is, Am I the jerk for asking my husband to turn down his dream job for my career? I'm going to be vague here for privacy reasons, sorry. I'm a 33-year-old female, and I'm the breadwinner of our household. I have multiple, highly specialized degrees for a niche industry. I make over $200,000 a year, with the potential to get into the $600,000 to $1 million range. My company has not been hit that bad by the virus, so most of us have kept our jobs, but we're held to strict standards. My husband, who's a 36-year-old male, has a broad degree in work experience. He quit his job right before the virus hit, hoping for a better job in the meantime, and I was supportive. He spent a ton of time applying to various jobs and finally landed an interview at Organization X. This is his dream job in almost every imaginable way. I can't be detailed. However, it pays about $65,000 a year, which would be fine, except this job directly puts my job stability at risk.
You're recording.
Yes.
Hi, recording people.
My company and this org are adversarial at best. My friend is extremely secretive, and if my clients discover that my spouse was working for a competitor, I would be permanently tainted. I wouldn't be able to get a job in the industry forever. I know this sounds like an exaggeration, but I promise you, it absolutely is not.
Thank you, Brian. It'd be like if I worked in protecting the privacy of celebrities and he worked for TMZ. If he tapped my car, got into my work devices, he could use that to advance his career, and any trust I have in this field will be gone. Even if I trusted my husband not to do that, my clients and company don't. Worse, because my background is so specialized, this is the only field I can work in. I asked him to drop from consideration for this job, since if he got it, would lose my income. $65,000 a year cannot support us in this city. Plus, he doesn't have to work for this organization. Even if the job market is awful right now, his background gives him access to a wide range of jobs, but I only have this one niche field. He was extremely angry and said I was selfish and only cared about money. I told him that if he wanted to go back to school for an advanced degree or just be unemployed for a while, I would support him, but taking this job isn't possible. He continued the process behind my back and got the offer. He wants to accept it because he says his career needs to take priority and that I wasn't being a supportive wife. I feel so betrayed, and I've contacted all relevant higher-ups in my company to inform them. I notified them as soon as he got the interview, because it's better coming from my email than from a background check. I told him he could decline the offer, with me watching him physically decline it, or he could accept the offer and move out immediately. I would pay for him to stay for 2 weeks at a hotel, and we would begin divorce proceedings. My company is willing to take care of all my legal fees. I feel awful. I still love him. I moved decisively because this was the best way to cut my losses, but it still hurts. He called me heartless and cold. It's true that I was prioritizing my career over his, but it felt like the only option at the time. I'm going to say that OP is not the jerk here. OP is only qualified to work in this one field, whereas her husband has a lot more flexibility in which jobs he can take. Furthermore, if she were to lose her job because of this, the family wouldn't be able to stay afloat. OP has offered her husband several options here, including paying for him to go back to school and supporting him financially until he finds a different job he likes. I understand that this situation sucks for the husband too, but if the choices are pass up one specific job or make your spouse permanently unemployable in the field they have specialized training in, there's really only one option that makes sense. Our next story is, Am I the jerk for not telling my family that my husband is transgender? My husband is a transgender man, Therefore, he cannot get me pregnant. We agreed before we even got married that we wanted to adopt, and we're a couple of years into the process right now, and are probably a couple of years off from being able to adopt kids. We told my parents that we wanted to adopt, but have never told them that he is trans because we didn't think they'd accept it. They are aware of our adoption plans and have asked us if we'd seen a fertility specialist when we said we couldn't have kids, and we said we haven't seen one because we want to adopt. For our anniversary a couple days ago, my parents told us they've prepaid for a consultation at a fertility clinic. They put down £200 just for the initial consultation and another $120 for a culture. I already have a son from a previous relationship, so they know I'm not the problem. They've prepaid for it and sent us an invoice from the clinic confirming that the consultation and the tests have both been paid for. They've also paid for train tickets, £108, for us to get to the clinic. My husband then decided to come out as transgender and explain exactly why he couldn't have a culture done. To be clear, he chose to tell them, and he told them himself. I didn't out him. Since telling them, all heck has broken loose. They're furious we didn't tell them sooner, and said that they have a right to know who they were allowing into the family, and are fuming that they've put down money for a consultation and test we won't be having. They want an apology for not telling them sooner, and a refund on the £428 they paid out, as they say they wouldn't have put that money down if they'd known that we already knew exactly why we couldn't have kids, quote, the old-fashioned way, as my dad put it. I've said we didn't ask them to put that money down, and it was disrespectful of them to do so when they know we want to adopt, and it shouldn't matter to them whether my husband is cis or trans. However, they feel that they are owed an apology for hiding the truth and expect us to refund the £428 they paid out, as they would not have paid it out if they knew the truth. We think we might be the jerk because they were coming from a good place, and honestly we probably should have told them sooner. Are we the jerk for not telling and refunding them? Opie and her husband are not the jerks here. Opie and her husband explicitly told the parents that they were not interested in fertility treatments and wanted to adopt. If you buy someone a gift they told you they didn't want, you don't have any right to be upset when they don't use it. Furthermore, it's none of the parents' business that Opie's husband is trans. Even if Opie had the most progressive parents, they wouldn't be entitled to that information. But the fact that Opie was concerned her parents might not support her relationship if they knew her husband is trans is a perfectly valid reason not to tell her parents. That line about quote-unquote allowing into the family seems to suggest that they aren't very welcoming, and they may have tried to put an end to the relationship if they had known the husband was trans at the outset. Our next story is, am I the jerk for informing my uncle that he is responsible for his daughter's gender and not his wife? My Uncle Jesse, Aunt Lola, and Cousin Poppy, who's a 6-year-old female, visited us today. It had been Poppy's birthday last week, and we hadn't been able to visit them to wish her a happy birthday, so we gave her the gifts we had bought for her. My parents bought her a dollhouse and some clothes, and I bought her a remote-controlled car and some toy binoculars. Aunt Lola and Poppy were very happy and accepted the gifts, but my uncle looked annoyed when he saw what I'd bought for Poppy. I asked him if something was wrong, and he asked me why I bought quote-unquote boy toys for his daughter when she was a girl. I asked him if he is saying only boys can play with remote-controlled cars and binoculars, and he said yes. He asked me why I didn't buy her a doll or a kitchen set or something more feminine. I stared at him incredulously and told him that anyone can play with these and toys aren't gendered, but he kept insisting they are and started to get angry. My mom told me to let it go, but I found it ridiculous that he was already restricting his daughter's choices at such a young age and forcing her to be quote-unquote feminine. Uncle Jesse then said, quote, if I had had a son, then these gifts would be acceptable. Unfortunately, it is Lola's fault that she gave me a daughter, so don't give Poppy such masculine gifts. I knew my uncle wasn't very educated, but this was the dumbest thing I had ever heard someone say. I informed him that it was his biology that decided Poppy would be a girl. It isn't Lola's fault at all. that Lola has two X chromosomes and he had XY chromosomes, and I basically went on a rant explaining how everything works. He was extremely angry after this and told me to stop lying and to shut up. He picked up Poppy and told Lola that they're leaving. They took only the gifts my parents brought and asked my parents to, quote, teach this idiot manners. My dad yelled at him for saying this, and my mom didn't say much to them, but told me I had stepped out of line, that I should have just stayed silent and ignored what he had said. She said I was extremely rude. Am I the jerk? I'm going to say that OP is not the jerk here. I find it a little odd that the mom thinks OP was being the rude one there. If you don't like a gift someone gives you or your child, as long as it's not actively harmful, the polite thing to do is to accept it and then make it disappear. The uncle chose to make a scene and chose to blame his wife for, quote-unquote, unfortunately giving him a girl, and his phrasing suggests that he thinks having a son is better. The uncle was rude and disrespectful as well as being incorrect, and the fact that he's presumably older than OP doesn't mean that he can say whatever he wants without being challenged. Toys are not inherently gendered, and it's important for Poppy to know that she can like things that aren't stereotypically feminine too. Our final story for today is, am I the jerk for refusing to be in my father's wedding even though I, quote-unquote, cheated too? A story as old as time. I'm a 27-year-old female, and my father, who's 50, cheated on my mother for 5 years with a younger woman, who's currently 32, and he left my mother when his mistress got pregnant. It tore our family apart. I resent my father because my mother actually loved him, and she is still dealing with this, even 1 year after he left her. I stayed on okay terms with him because I was the one to pick up and drop off my younger brother at his place. Last week, when I picked up my brother, my father had big news. He proposed to his girlfriend and wanted me to be his best woman. It made me kind of mad, not gonna lie, but I kept calm and told him no. He said that what happened between him and Mom was none of our business and that I should respect his new relationship. I said I respect it, but that doesn't mean I condone it. Obviously, I would never hound him randomly about it, but I don't approve of it and I don't like her. She knew the whole time my mom and we existed. Well, my dad was having none of it and told me to get off my high horse because I had cheated too and I had no right. And I guess? When I was 17, I was with this boy for 3 months. I went to a party and got blackout drunk and made out with a classmate for a total of 10 minutes. I felt so bad that I called my boyfriend crying and we talked it out. We broke up. I told my dad, and in 10 years I never did something like that again. I have been with my partner for 5 years. I told him he could not equate it at all. He called me a hypocrite, and that he was glad to know who I am. Driving home, I felt like I was a bit harsh. He is still my father, and he is not a bad father. I just don't want to be in his wedding. I would still go. But am I the jerk? I don't think OP is being the jerk here. First of all, being in someone's wedding party can be a big responsibility, so OP doesn't even need an ironclad reason to decline. If she doesn't want to take on that responsibility, that's reason enough. But you can't break up your child's home environment and expect them to move on as if nothing had happened. I'd say the dad's lucky OP wants to go to his wedding at all, because a lot of kids in that situation wouldn't. The fact that OP cheated is irrelevant, and the father was in the wrong to try using that to pressure OP to be in his wedding. There's a huge difference between cheating on your partner once and telling them about it, and carrying on a 5-year-long affair while you have a wife and child at home. I'm hoping that OP is right in her assessment that he is otherwise a good father, but his manipulation here does not give me good feelings about the situation. Those are all the stories I have for you for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving it a like or letting me know in the comments. I post new videos twice a week, funny or outrageous ones on Wednesdays and spooky ones on Sundays. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.